First Contact POCOL the Starborn. Empire had ruled the galaxy for 14 millennia with the precision of clockwork and the inevitability of gravity. Their crystal ships moved through space like thoughts, through minds effortless, beautiful, and absolute. No rebellion had lasted more than a generation. No uprising had survived more than a decade. The Empire didn't crush resistance. It simply waited for reality to reassert itself. Commander Velshara embodied this philosophy perfectly. Standing on the bridge of the radiant eternity, she reviewed the sensor data with 3 of her 7 eyes, while the others monitored her crew. The unknown vessel had been detected 7 hours ago, approaching from the galactic rim at speeds that suggested primitive faster-than-light capability. Analysis complete. Commander, her tactical officer announced. Single vessel, approximately 400 meters in length. Hull composition appears to be reinforced titanium ceramic composite. Energy signatures consistent with fusion-based propulsion. Assessment. Technological development level approximately 900 standard years behind Imperial norms. Velshara's crest dimmed slightly, the starborn equivalent of mild disappointment. Another primitive species stumbling into Imperial space, no doubt seeking protection or trade. The protocol was well established. Intercept, catalog, redirect to the appropriate processing stations where they would be evaluated for potential incorporation into the Empire's lower tiers. Open first contact channels. Standard greeting sequence. A communications array activated, broadcasting welcome messages in 4,200 languages across every known frequency band. The response came within seconds. Crude electromagnetic waves carrying analog audio. This is Captain Marcus Webb of the Terran Systems Navy ship Defiant. We are on a charted course through this region. We neither seek nor require your assistance. Please maintain a respectful distance. Velshara's primary eyes focused on the translation. The language was rough, efficient, almost militaristic. Interesting, but ultimately irrelevant. Unknown vessel Defiant, you have entered the sovereign space of the Starborn Empire. Under Imperial Statute 774, all unidentified vessels must submit to inspection and cataloging. Reduce your velocity to 0.3 standard and prepare to be escorted to Processing Station Meridian. A pause. Then, Captain Webb is sufficient. Thank you. And we decline your ... invitation. We'll be continuing on our present course. I recommend you don't interfere. Velshara felt a flutter of something she hadn't experienced in decades. Genuine surprise. Refusal wasn't unheard of, but it was rare enough to be noteworthy. Most species recognized the futility of resistance within minutes of detecting an Imperial patrol fleet. Captain Webb, she said, her voice taking on the harmonic undertones that indicated formal Imperial authority. You appear to misunderstand the nature of our interaction. This is not a negotiation. Imperial law is absolute within Imperial space. Then it's fortunate we don't recognize your authority over us, came the reply. We're humans, Commander. We have this inconvenient habit of making our own decisions. Velshara gestured to her weapons officer. Target their propulsion systems. Minimum force. I want them operational enough to understand what they're facing. Targeting solution locked. Commander, the Radiant Eternity's precision disruptors engaged weapons capable of separating molecules with surgical accuracy at ranges of 50,000 kilometers. The beams lanced out, their trajectories calculated to 600 decimal places. The Defiant rolled, not the smooth, flowing evasion of a ship using gravitic compensators, but a violent, wrenching maneuver that expelled reaction mass in 3 directions simultaneously. The disruptor beams passed through empty space, and by the time the targeting computers recalculated, the human ship had shifted trajectory again. Report, Velshara demanded. They're using chemical thrusters for maneuvering, Commander. The exhaust pattern suggests they're firing individual rockets in seemingly random sequences. Our predictive algorithms can't establish a pattern. Impossible. Even random movement has statistical patterns. Not this, Commander. They're generating genuinely unpredictable vectors. Velshara's crest flared amber irritation. All vessels converge on target. Establish a containment sphere. If they want to dodge, we'll eliminate every direction they can dodge toward. Her patrol fleet, 12 vessels of varying classes, moved with the practiced precision of a dance troupe. Within 90 seconds, they had surrounded the Defiant in a perfect sphere with overlapping fields of fire. No escape route existed that wasn't covered by at least 3 separate weapon systems. Captain Webb, Velshara said, you are surrounded. Further resistance is mathematically futile. Surrender now, and the Defiant's hull suddenly went dark. Every energy signature vanished. Heat emissions dropped to near zero. Even the slight gravitational distortion from its mass seemed to diminish. Where did they go? Velshara's voice had lost its harmonic quality. Unknown, Commander. They've engaged some form of comprehensive stealth system. All conventional sensors are blind. Deploy quantum resonance scanners. No ship can hide from. The warning came too late. Solid projectiles, actual physical slugs of metal tore through the hull of the pristine Dawn, one of her escort frigates. Not elegant energy weapons or exotic particle beams, but chunks of depleted uranium accelerated to relativistic speeds by electromagnetic rails. Railguns, a tactical officer reported, disbelief evident in his voice. They're using mass drivers. Another salvo. Another frigate crippled, its crystalline hull shattered by weapons that belonged in a historical database. How are they targeting us while running dark? Velshara demanded. Analysis suggests passive sensors only, Commander. They're reading our active sensor emissions and using them to target us. The more we scan for them, the more data we give them. It was elegant in its primitive brutality. The humans had turned the Empire's sophistication into a liability. Cease active scanning. All vessels switch to passive sensors and random movement pattern Omega-7. The fleet scattered, each ship executing a different variation of unpredictable movement. It was a protocol designed for fighting opponents, who might have stolen Imperial tactical. Databases randomized to the point that even other Imperial ships couldn't predict each other's movements. The Defiance somehow picked off 2 more escorts in the chaos. Commander, her tactical officer said quietly, they're not predicting our movements. They're predicting our randomization protocols. They know we have 17,000 variations of random evasion patterns. So they're firing at the statistical averages of where ships executing those patterns are likely to be. Velshara stared at the tactical display, watching her fleet, her perfect, precisely trained fleet being systematically dismantled by a single primitive vessel, using weapons technology that predated the Empire itself. Full withdrawal, she ordered, the words tasting of copper and shame. All surviving vessels retreat to defensive line Gamma 4. As her fleet limped away, the Defiant reappeared on sensors, continuing its original course as if nothing had occurred. Captain, Webb's voice crackled across the communications channel one final time. Commander, I'm going to give you something your Empire hasn't had in 14,000 years, a piece of advice. Update your tactical databases. The galaxy's been changing while you've been sitting still. Oh, and tell your High Council that more ships are coming. Lots more. And we're not here to ask permission. Velshara stood alone on her bridge, surrounded by damage reports and casualty lists, and felt the first tremor of something that would soon shake the galaxy to its foundations. Doubt. Asterisk for 14 millennia. The Empire had been inevitable. In 23 minutes, one human ship had proved that inevitability was just a comforting lie. and somewhere in the darkness between stars, Captain Marcus Webb was smiling, knowing that the first domino had just fallen. Asterisk. The Cascade HFY seat, a holographic projection of the Defiant engagement, played on repeat in the High Council chamber. 37 of the Empire's most powerful beings watched in silence as Commander Belshara's patrol fleet was methodically dismantled by a single enemy vessel, Supreme Luminary. Keth Vorn was the first to speak, his 9 voices harmonizing in a tone that conveyed both authority and profound concern. How many engagements have we documented? 14, Supreme Luminary, replied Intelligence Director Nothcall. The Terran vessel has encountered 5 separate Imperial fleets across 7 sectors. Cumulative Imperial losses, 243 ships. Terran losses, 0 confirmed. 0, Keth Vorn repeated. 1 primitive vessel has destroyed or disabled 243 ships of the line. They're not fighting like primitives, Supreme Luminary, Nothcall continued. Our tactical computers have analyzed their combat patterns. They possess knowledge of advanced strategic theory that shouldn't exist outside Imperial military academies. More disturbing, they're using obsolete technology in ways we never considered possible. Elaborate. They're railguns, Supreme Luminary. We abandoned projectile weapons 4,000 years ago because energy weapons are more efficient. But projectile weapons can't be deflected by gravitic shields, can't be predicted by conventional targeting algorithms, and leave no energy signature before firing. They've weaponized obsolescence. Another council member High Scholar Zelenara activated a secondary display. It gets worse. 3 days ago, the Defiant broadcast this message. It's reached approximately 200 billion beings across 43 Imperial sectors. The image of Captain Marcus Webb appeared a human male, unremarkable by most species standards, wearing a simple dark uniform. But his eyes carried an intensity that translated across species barriers. My name is Marcus Webb, the recording began. I command the TSNS Defiant, and for the past 4 months, my crew and I have been engaged in combat operations against the Starborn Empire. We've survived 14 encounters. We've disabled hundreds of their ships. And we're still here. Webb leaned forward, his expression hardening. The Empire wants you to believe they're invincible. 14,000 years of dominance. 14,000 years of telling you that resistance is futile, that their rule is the natural order of the galaxy. They're wrong. The recording shifted to external footage of the Defiant in combat. Its crude hull, ablative armor scarred and pitted, maneuvering through clouds of debris from destroyed Imperial vessels. Every empire falls. Every tyrant loses. Every system that tells you that you're not good enough, smart enough, or strong enough to govern yourselves is lying to you. And here's your proof. 1 ship, 1 crew, 4 months, still fighting. Webb's image returned to fill the screen. The Terran Republic is coming. We're not coming to conquer. We're not coming to replace one empire with another. We're coming to show you that the age of the Starborn is ending, and you have the power to end it yourselves. All you have to do is refuse. Refuse their laws. Refuse their taxes. Refuse their authority. Refuse to bow. The recording paused, and Webb's final words hung in the air like a prophecy. The galaxy belongs to those who have the courage to claim it. Welcome to the revolution. High Scholar Zelenara deactivated the display. Since this broadcast, we've documented uprisings on 68 worlds. 23 systems have declared independence. The Valdari Consortium has resurrected their pre-imperial government. The Kree theocracy is calling this a divine awakening. And the Thryn are singing their war songs. Keth Vorn finished. I've read the reports. What are your orders, Supreme Luminary? asked Fleet Marshal Torvin. I can deploy the Grand Fleet, every available vessel. If we concentrate our forces, we expose every other sector, Kethvorin interrupted. And even if we destroy the Defiant, the damage is done. They've proved we can be beaten. That knowledge cannot be unlearned. Then what do you suggest? Kethvor rose from his seat, his full height towering over the assembly. I suggest we consider the possibility that we have already lost. Stunned silence. The Terrans are not fighting a war, Kethvorin continued. They're conducting a demonstration. Every engagement proves their thesis, that the Empire is vulnerable. And they're correct. We've spent 14,000 years optimizing for dominance over a compliant galaxy. We never prepared for an enemy who embraces chaos as strategy. Supreme Luminary, Fleet Marshal Torvan protested. We cannot simply surrender to a single ship. I'm not suggesting surrender. I'm suggesting we acknowledge reality. Kethvorin gestured to the tactical displays surrounding them. Look at their pattern of engagement. They're not trying to conquer territory. They're demonstrating that resistance is possible, then moving on before we can bring overwhelming force to bear. It's brilliant. They're teaching the galaxy how to fight us. Then we hunt them, Torvan insisted. Deploy everything. Flood every sector with patrol fleets. Eventually, we'll succeed, Kethvorin agreed. After months or years of pursuit, after more losses, after more systems revolt because they've watched us fail repeatedly to stop a single enemy vessel. Marshal, every day the Defiance survives is another day that proves our rule is not inevitable. What alternative do we have? Kethvorin turned to face the full council. We negotiate. The chamber erupted in discord. Negotiate? Zelenara's voices carried equal parts shock and curiosity. With terrorists who have killed thousands of our personnel? With people who have exposed a fundamental flaw in our governance, Kethvorin corrected. Consider, if one human ship can inspire 68 uprisings, what happens when the full Terran Republic arrives? They've told us they're coming. More ships. More chaos. More demonstrations of our vulnerability. You want to legitimize their rebellion? Torvin demanded. I want to survive it. The Empire, as we know, it is finished. The question now is whether we manage a controlled transition or watch everything burn in civil war. High Scholar Zelenara S. Analytical Mind engaged. You're proposing we negotiate the terms of our own dissolution? I'm proposing we transform before we're destroyed. The galaxy clearly wants change. We can either lead that change or be swept away by it. And do you believe these Terrans would negotiate in good faith? I believe, Kethvorin said carefully, that Captain Webb is smart enough to understand the difference between destroying an empire and replacing it with something better. His broadcast spoke of liberation, not conquest. If that's genuine, then we may be able to forge something that preserves the stability we've maintained while addressing the autonomy the galaxy clearly desires. And if it's not genuine? If this is simply a prelude to human dominance? Kethvorin was quiet for a moment. Then we'll fight. But we'll fight knowing we tried to build something better. That has to count for something. Fleet Marshal Torvan stood. I will not be part of this surrender. It's not surrender, Marshal. It's evolution. Call it what you wish, Supreme Luminary. History will record it as the day the Starborn Empire chose cowardice over glory. Torvin left the chamber, his departure speaking volumes. Kethvorin watched him go, then turned back to the council. We will send a message to Captain Webb, offer to negotiate under diplomatic immunity. If he's truly fighting for liberation rather than conquest, he'll come to the table. And if he doesn't, then Marshal Torvan will have his war. But I would rather die trying to build peace than succeed in creating nothing but corpses. The council voted. By a narrow margin, They agreed. The message was transmitted on all frequencies, in all languages. Across every system where the Defiant had been sighted, Captain Marcus Webb, the Starborn Empire requests parley. Let us discuss the future you're fighting for. 3 days later, the Defiant arrived at the specified coordinates. Captain Webb came aboard the Imperial diplomatic vessel alone, armed only with determination and the knowledge that the galaxy was watching. When he sat across from Supreme Luminary Kethvorn, the first words exchanged would determine whether 14,000 years of empire would end in fire or transformation. So, Webb said, his voice carrying the weight of revolution, let's talk about what freedom looks like. And in that moment, watching this human who had shattered the illusion of imperial invincibility, Kethvorn realized something profound. The galaxy wasn't changing because of superior weapons or advanced technology. It was changing because someone had finally had the courage to say no and the conviction to make it stick. Age of the Starborn was ending. The age of choice was beginning, and nothing would ever be the same. End.